You're either going to live a physical life or you're going to live a spiritual life. The combination and the creation of man is not just about being physical, it's about being spiritual. God used dust and then he breathed into the dust, fusing the two to come up with what you call a human being. So when you look at your life, for example, you're not just living a life of the physical, at the physical level, where you're eating, you're sleeping, you're drinking, and then you die after that. Life must go way beyond just being physical, becoming spiritual. Jesus says, if you want to worship God, worship him in spirit, for God is spirit. You worship him in spirit and in truth. Paul then says we don't fight against flesh and blood, but principalities of darkness in higher places. So what does this all mean to me? It means therefore that if we go to church, churches must become a venue which produces spiritual people rather than producing Christians. And the fact that you're a Christian does not mean that you're spiritual. What does it mean that you're spiritual? Being spiritual is the ability of a person to interact at a high level of life that becomes the spiritual life, where you and God are in harmony. And the best illustration I can give us is the illustration of ancestral worship, sangomas and matwasas. They go through a process, they prepare for their state, and they live in that state constantly. They can interact with their God constantly. How dare we as Christians, we talk about a true God that we can't even talk to, we can't even relate to. Sit around and we sing and we do praise and worship and shout until we are blue on the faces, speaking in tongues and rolling on the floors. But at the end of the day, we can never have access to the God that we are talking about. What am I talking about? Life is not about being physical. Life is about being spiritual. All of us must begin a long journey to find our spiritual contribution in this life, to interact with the very God that is not only out there, but it can also be found within our hearts. It's big enough to occupy the whole universe, but it's also small enough to fill in your own heart. Therefore, our search and journey of the path of every soul is to move away from being physical to becoming spiritual. One illustration I'll give you. Do you know the last time that you were a spirit? It is when you were a young little baby and the witch doctor walked into the house. Then why did you scream? Because your senses were much more alert. Academics, education, and churches don't produce spiritual people. They just produce mechanical people. Why is it difficult to produce spiritual people? Because once you're spiritual, you're ungovernable. If you can talk to God, will you need a church? The answer is no. So we produce churches, we make churches so that we can produce people who obey and follow the system. I want to challenge you, follow the way of the Spirit. Find your spirit. Follow that spirit and let God lead you to himself. When you and God are in touch with each other, it's company unlimited. Rachel. The beautiful woman does not always give birth to lots of children. Leah forgotten in the backyards of ugliness and squint eyes.